Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we dive into strategy, stories, and insight that shape business leader and high performing team. Today's guest is Joe Candido, a sales consultant, thought leaders, and an author of leadership selling. Joe has spent over 30 years transforming sales organization, helping team move from pitching products to advising leaders on business outcome. His approach challenge the traditional way of selling and teach how to create trust, credibility, and long-term growth with clients. It's really a pleasure and honor have you on the show, Joe.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, Joe, what were some of the challenge that shape you into who you have become today?
There wasn't one thing. It was
Mm,
life in general. Over the years, I learned a lot. And I guess maybe if I were to say one thing, I think the biggest teacher that I've had in life has been my failures.
mm.
They are fantastic teachers if you're open minded to receiving the lesson.
Yeah.
And I always say I've learned more from my mistakes than my successes. And so that's probably, maybe a little different than how some people think about failure, but I think of failure as a fantastic teacher.
Failure is a fantastic teacher. Yeah, it's really amazing. And I think so, Joe, you said traditional selling is dead. Can you explain why and what is replacing it?
Yeah, traditional selling is dead, in my opinion, because it doesn't work, because buyers don't respond to it. Maybe they did in the past. I don't know if they ever did, but they definitely don't any longer. Traditional selling is I call up somebody and I start pitching my product or talking about my company. And if they wanted your product, they would call you. If they wanted to know about your company, they would call you and ask. So they're not interested. And they've got plenty of information. The internet and AI and all these tools at their fingertips allow them to get all the product information that they need. So, calling them without knowing who they are, not understanding their business, not understanding their industry, simply thinking that they're sitting around waiting to hear from you is unrealistic. And yes, occasionally you'll make a sale using that approach. But I like to say that, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while, but most blind squirrels die of starvation. So, if you really want to be successful at selling, you have to change your approach. And the traditional approach just doesn't work any longer.
Wow, that was really a whole lot. So during the course, why you're actually more like refining this model of selling compared to the traditional means, what were some of the challenges that you encounter that make you discover that the traditional system does not work again?
Well, I learned it the hard way. It was a failure.
Yeah,
I learned it as a salesperson, starting that way because that's how I was taught. I was taught here's your product, here's your features, here's your company story, always be closing, ask probing questions, ask what keeps them up at night. I was taught all that stuff, and I was like, okay, here we go. I'm taught. I know what to do. And I went out there and I did it and it didn't work very well.
yeah,
And, I was selling a technical product and I could explain the product very well, but I didn't connect it to the needs of the buyer.
mm,
And so, it didn't have enough meaning for them, and I wasn't effective. And so I realized that in order to be successful, I had to help them. I had to change the game from helping me to helping them.
yeah,
And in order to help them, I had to understand their business, what they were trying to accomplish, where their pain points were, where their challenges were, where the opportunities were for them. And then if I could help them, then they might buy from me. So
yeah.
that was, honestly, it was a long time ago that I realized what I had been taught just wasn't working and there was a better way to do it. And I spent a long time perfecting that approach. And then I became a consultant and started teaching other people how to do it.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think it's really lovely being that you're able to kind of practice it and discover that it doesn't work, and then you get to see that the traditional means does not specify much of what, apart from just selling, did they actually peg it to how it actually help the clients to actually more like get what they need, and it's amazing. So how does business outcome selling change the way a company approach clients?
Well, if you're really business outcome centric, and this is a key point, I want to back up for a minute. When I work with clients, I always start with the leadership of the company and the sales leadership because we have to have agreement or else I can't be successful.
Yeah,
If they want me to teach one approach and I want to teach a different approach, then, there's no agreement, right? Or often they're like, hey, we love what you're doing. Go fix my sales team. Nope. not going to do that. We're going to do it together. Okay. So the first thing with business outcome selling is the leadership has to agree with it and embrace it, because at the beginning, it's a little bit slower to be successful, but in the end, it's much more successful. And so they need to understand the difference between, making 100 calls a day, even though 98 of them are garbage,
Mm.
and, making 10 calls a day where 4 of them are great, right? So business outcome selling is really about helping your customer achieve the goals that are most important to them. What are the outcomes they're trying to achieve? And it typically falls in 2 categories. What are the risks that they're trying to mitigate, the dangers, the bad things they want to make sure don't happen? And then what are the opportunities that they want to happen? And so this is a leadership conversation. So when we sell, we want to sell high in the organization and talk to the leaders about their goals. What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to make sure doesn't happen? And that's then, if I can align my products and solutions to their goals, I'm helping them achieve their outcomes. I'm helping them achieve those business outcomes. And that is the most effective selling you can do, because the customer will buy from you if they actually believe you can help them achieve their goals. Whatever you're selling is going to cost less than the value of their goals. So you have an inherent return on investment when you sell that way, because they're not just looking at the cost of buying whatever you're selling, they're looking at how it's going to achieve their goals.
Yeah, amazing. Customer is definitely going to buy from you when they perceive that, yeah, you'll be able to kind of solve their problem. Yeah, amazing. So, can you break down the idea of be a leader, said to leader in practical terms?
Yeah, so be a leader, sell to leader is a little slogan or tagline that I have in my book, Leadership Selling.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've talked about for years and years with sales teams. The first thing is operate as a leader. Understand your customer and approach your customer as a peer, as an advisor, as someone that is interested in helping them achieve their goals. That's not the normal posture of a salesperson, okay? A normal posture of a salesperson is to sell into the middle of the organization, to sell to procurement, to sell to somebody that they're going to be very product centric with features, functions, benefits. Okay. They're going to do objection handling, negotiation. There's nothing wrong with those things, but that's the heart of how they sell. Okay. Leadership selling says that you're going to make a relationship, you're going to build trust and credibility with the leader of the customer that you're trying to work with.
Yeah.
And you're going to collaborate with them about their business, about their competitors, about changes they're trying to make that you can help them make. It's a very different mindset, and it's a different approach, and it's a different conversation. It's a thought leadership conversation instead of a product pitch conversation. Okay. So that's be a leader. Sell to leaders is, pretty obvious, sell high in the organization. These are the people that are paid to change the business. So I want to take a minute on this one because it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Managers are paid to run the business. They don't want to make change. They have their systems in place and they want to just keep things running smoothly. That's their job. That's what they're paid to do, run the business. Leaders are paid to change the business. They will take risk, they will make changes, and they have budget. That's who you want to be selling to. That's the person that wants to make change. That's the person that is looking for help. That's the person to sell to. Now, in a really big corporation, let's say you're trying to sell to Apple. You're not going to sell to Tim Cook. I understand that. I'm realistic. But you want to be as high as possible in the organization relative to your product and your company, okay? And get to the people that are empowered to say yes. Get to the people that have the vision to make change. That's who you want to sell to.
Wow, amazing. Selling to the person who is able to make the change, which is the leader, rather than selling to the manager who doesn't have the power to change, but power to just run the business. Yeah, this is
And they're
amazing.
afraid to make change. They don't want to make change. It's disruptive to them.
Yeah, so true. Amazing. So, what role does sales leaders play in transforming sales team from product pitcher to trusted advisor?
This is a great question. Sales leaders, not me, sales leaders play a much bigger role. I come in and I help them. I can change the direction, I can do the training, we can build the strategy. But at the end of the day, the sales leader needs to be a coach. They need to reinforce leadership selling, they need to reinforce their values and their culture, and they need to work with their people, coaching them, observing them, encouraging them. That's how you really make change. You don't make change in training. You create possibilities with training. You create change with coaching. And so it's a combination of the two that gives you the most effectiveness. And so I work with sales leaders so that they're not dependent on me for the long term. I can do the coaching. I'm happy to. I love to do it. But I want to empower them. I want the sales leaders to own their forward direction, their transformation. And the biggest part of that is implementing the strategy and doing the coaching.
Implementing the strategy, yeah, and doing the coaching. Yeah, I think this is really amazing right now. Thank you so much for sharing. So you talk about give to get, earning the right to sell by providing insight. How does this work in practice?
Well, let's talk about what a salesperson normally does. This is part of the traditional selling that's
Yeah.
dead. If they make a cold call, the first thing they start doing is asking the customer questions. Now you got to stop and think about this for a minute. I'm going to cold call you. You're busy doing your job.
Yeah.
And I either send you an email or a LinkedIn or a telephone call, right? And you're going to stop what you're doing and answer my questions when you don't even know who I am? That's unrealistic. Why would you do that? You're like, I don't have time to educate a stranger. I'm busy
Yeah.
doing my job, right? So this whole idea of asking questions at the beginning of a call or at the beginning of a relationship is preposterous. It's ridiculous. So give to get is the opposite of that. It says if I want to do business with you, the first thing I have to do is build trust with you and credibility with you. I need to build a relationship so that you'll want to talk to me. So I give first. I give thought leadership. I give white papers. I give insights about their industry, about their competitors, about changes in the marketplace, about economic changes. I provide information. I give it. And I say, hey, I thought you might be interested in this. I know you don't know me, but I know a little bit about your industry and your company, and I thought this would be helpful to you. And I'd love to chat with you about it if you want. And I provide information. I send my book out to sales leaders all the time. I send my book out to CEOs and sales leaders all the time. I say, I know about your company, and I think you guys would really, find some good insights in my book. Here you go. And if you ever want to talk to me about it, just give me a call. Okay. So that's the give to get model. You give first. And what happens is you start to establish a little bit of credibility and then maybe a little more credibility. And there's other things you can do to establish credibility, LinkedIn, referrals, all those sorts of things. But the idea with give to get is you give first, showing them what you're capable of, giving them things that are helpful to them. And then they'll be willing to talk to you.
Amazing. Giving them something that sure of it first, and then they'll be willing to, because their interest now is more, yeah, it's more captured, being that you're able to show them what the product could actually do for them, and they're already having more like a meta model of what the result is going to be when they apply it. Yeah, it's amazing. So how do you coach salesperson to build credibility and trust with clients rather than just pitching products?
Well, there's a few things. One of the things that we do when we start working with a client is we want to understand, with their industry, their business, their products, their services. So each one's a little bit different. It is a customized approach. But the things that are consistent is we want to start to understand the opportunities for them to differentiate. What are the things they do beyond their core products that could cause them to be really well received by their customer? And then based on that, we do research on the customer's industry. And this is very easy today with Google and AI. The research is very easy. And there's lots of information out there in the public domain. And we find articles, white papers, things that we can share that would be helpful to them. Then we do training to teach the sales team how to use those tools. So we build some tools and then we teach the sales team how to use them. We teach them how to do storytelling, how to share information, how to compose an email that you send it out. We work with the marketing team and the sales team together to share this information. And I want to be clear, these aren't brochures. These aren't about the company. No, it's not a pitch. It's really information that the customer would find valuable doing their job. And so then we train the team on how to use that and how to do follow-ups. And what happens is in a pretty short period of time, you have people that are interested in more information or maybe setting up a conversation with you to talk about the information that you already shared. And then you start to build that relationship based on trust and credibility.
On trust and credibility. Oh, yeah, amazing. So lastly, for sales team looking to implement our leadership selling, what is the first step they should take out to start selling results?
Well, honestly, I'm not trying to promote my book, but the book is super cheap if you're looking for a really inexpensive way to get some fresh ideas. Get my book, read through it, and you'll probably get a lot of ideas on changes you can make for your sales team, ideas for strategy, for account planning, for competencies. There's a lot of information in there, and it's written for sales executives and for CEOs, right? So that would be the easiest, fastest way to do it. And I'm not trying to promote the book. I'm just saying, it's
Yeah.
that's what it was built for. And then, after that, they can do some research on their own. They might want to contact me or a company like me that, offers this approach. But I really think that, the information's out there. The first thing that they have to do is be willing to change, to recognize, hey, my business isn't going as well as I would like. My sales aren't as good as I would like. I'm open to making some changes. I don't think that traditional selling is really working for me any
Yeah.
longer. What could I do different? And if they, that's the first step, is to really think about what can I do different and be open-minded. And then, the information's out there.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. So for my audience who would love to reach out to you in respect of your book, your coaching sections, and to have it on board, how can they reach out to you and where's the best platform?
The easiest way to reach me would be joecandido.com. And
All
that's my
right.
website. And it's got my phone number there. It's got my consulting services. It's got information on my book. It's got a lot of information, keynote speaking. It's all there. And then they just give me a call or shoot me an email. And I'm very happy to chat with people. I do it all the time. I love that. That's one of the things I enjoy about my business, is meeting people and talking about the challenges that they're dealing with.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Definitely the link is going to be on the show notes for my audience who would love to reach out. Thank you. Expertise just remind us that sales isn't just about products. It's about insights, leadership, and creating meaningful outcome for clients. By selling to leaders, focusing on trust and credibility, team can achieve a lasting success and growth. Once again, a pleasure and honor having you on the show, Joe.
Thank you so much. It's really great chatting with you.